After you completed the SketchUp Setup video, we are now prepared to download our roller coaster template and start laying out a track design. If you go into your Google Classroom to the post that says roller coaster track layout, you'll see two files. The first is the design template image, which is what the file that you are downloading is going to look like. And then you have the actual SketchUp files itself. It says SKP. What you want to do is click this, download it into your folder on your desktop, should be your SketchUp folder. And once you have it downloaded, open up the file, and it should look like this. Once you have it downloaded, you can press File, Save a Copy As, move this to your desktop folder by clicking the desktop icon, and you should have a SketchUp folder on your desktop. You want to name it your last name. Name it your group number, whatever it is. From here, we can start setting up the SketchUp window as you see. If you don't have your tray open on this side, or you don't see it, if the tray is not here at all, check under Window, Default Tray, and hit Hide Tray. Hit Show Tray if you do not see yours. My tray is visible, so my only option is to hide it. And you see your different layers, basic guidelines, and detail guidelines. Basic guidelines put our guides at every 1 inch. This is useful because we can snap to those spots, making it easier for us to draw our track. If we wanted to get more detail in some parts, we can press Visible next to Detail Guidelines, and now we have lines every 1/2 inch. You'll see that I'm directly over the top in this view, whereas if I pressed my mouse scroll button in and out, I'm scrolling in and out. If you scroll too far out, you can press the Zoom Extends tool to get back in close. If you press your orbit button or the mouse button, the scroll wheel straight down, you get this. And we don't want this because this is a two-dimensional sketch and we really don't need to move around. We don't want to look top down. So to look top down like we were just doing, I can press the top view down, zoom in, and this is where I'm going to draw. Again, now I'm going to take off my detail guidelines. Make sure your layer 0 has the black mark next to it. That's going to allow us to draw. I can draw a few different ways. If I use my straight line tool, I can draw one line at a time. If I don't want that line, I can press Eraser and erase it. Or I can press Control Z and that will erase it as well. I'm going to stick to my rectangle tool because I can use it to draw a rectangle very easily by clicking once and twice. And remember, each track section that I'm creating is going to be independent of one another so that I can separate them when I go to build them. Each section here is 1 inch, so this track section would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 inches long. Another 3, and that would give me the total of 1 foot. I'm going to create another turn here, and maybe I'll create another turn here, and another turn here. And it may get difficult to see which parts of the track are actually the track travels around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my paint bucket tool here. And my materials window comes open. And I'm just going to pick 2 colors that contrast. And I'm going to alternate track pieces so that I know, and I might even actually use 3 for this instance, so that I know which track pieces are separate. So 1, 2, 3. And we'll pick a second color. And we can start to see. Actually, let's just use 2 colors. We'll just alternate every track piece. And this way we can see where the individual track sections are. We don't need this piece in the middle, so I'm going to click it with my select tool, press delete. And then we can continue along drawing my track. We're going to add in arrows later on to see which way we're going. So for now, we can just continue on. Now you can also add arcs or turns if you want to make it turned in your track and you want it to be nice and boxy. So what I would do for that is I would select once here, and actually I can use my arc tool here to here, and that's going to give me a nice click once, click twice, and that's going to give me a nice half circle. I can delete the middle with my eraser tool, and now I have an arc turning around. So you can use these tools to create smaller arcs. Remember that your track does have to be 1 inch all the way through, so it's important that you keep this distance 1 all the way through. So I can continue coloring that around. And you can also draw with your straight line tool. Remember, if you want to make some tighter edges, I put my detail guidelines on. Now, when I zoom in by scrolling my mouse button forward, it enables me to snap to every 1.5 inches, making my track a little bit more detailed. Remember, you have to have at least 1 inch or 2 boxes between all of your track to make sure it is 1 inch at all places. And you want to make sure that you're snapping to your intersecting lines, which just make it easier to sketch out later on. With some basic track pieces in place, now we can start to add details to help us better understand what the track is and the size of it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to get my dimension tool here. I'm going to now come back down to my guidelines and hide or make them invisible so I just see my sketch. Here, I'm going to take my dimension tool, click once at the beginning, twice at this part, and bring it up slightly, once out to the side. Very clearly telling me that this piece is 9 inches. This piece, 4 inches. And you want to put the measurements wherever you feel like it's the easiest to read. If the track is 1 inch in all places, you don't need to put it every single spot. It'll end up just cluttering up your drawing. But at least for these pieces where you need to know the distance, because they will all be different, you may want to add them to the spots you think are the most clear to see. The last things we can add is our text tool, and our text tool will enable us to see and label our drawing. So I'm pressing the text tool. I'm going to name it RT space 1. Oh, I don't mean, yeah, RT space 1. And you can leave all this the same. The height is 3/4. Our track is 1 inch, so this should be able to sit in our 3/4. I'm sorry, in our 1 inch track place. And since this is first right, I'll press label it there so it's nice and neat. See how it fits pretty well? We can also then color this too with our paint bucket tool and continue on labeling LT, RT all the way around so it's very clear which track section and which turn goes where. Once you have RT 1, 2, 3 and LT 1, 2, 3, you don't have to label the rest of the track turns. You can also play around with different tools like the circle tool, which can give you interesting shapes, which you can then take the eraser tool and cut some off depending on what look you're going for, as well as the polygon tool, which you can change. Right now it says 6 sides. I can change it to 10 sides by pressing 10 enter, and works the same different way. Remember, you must stay inside of the boundaries here in order to finish this project correctly. When you are completely done with the track sketch, you will press File, Save. That will update your copy, and then you're going to go ahead and press File, but you're going to export a 2D graphic. This 2D graphic is what will be turned in the classroom for the documentation portion of this assignment. You can leave the file name the same, which for you should be your group number. and make sure that you are putting it again. This is your SketchUp folder on your desktop. So you go to Desktop, SketchUp folder, and export it to that spot. When you are finished exporting it, you can now load it to Google Classroom. If you go back into Classroom and you go to the assignment, look, mine looks a little bit different here. You'll click on the bottom, you'll see a little paper clip for a file attachment. You can then find the SketchUp folder on your desktop, drag the 2D sketch that you just created, named your group number, drop it in, and upload it to Classroom.